I have found that people want connection. They want to feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves, and they get pumped about it. So I have been, for the last 6-7 years, I've been a youth group leader at my church. I go to a church called Life Church. It's a big old church, and there's this youth group thing called Switch. And we have a couple hundred, we've had almost 300 kids, but I lead generally the age that my daughter is in. And so I have freshman boys right now. And this is a week off because all the pastors are getting training in Oklahoma City, where the church is headquartered. And the freshman boys, I have about 20 of them, sometimes a few less, sometimes a few more. But we're supposed to do something as a group today. And I was kind of shocked because we said last week, like, well, I know church isn't going on next week. We don't have Switch, but you guys want to get together and get dinner at 6:30. And the kids really wanted to, especially when one of the guys that leads the group with me said he'd buy them all ice cream. But I thought to that, like, that's really cool that 14, 15-year-olds, like, want to get together. And it reminded me of how that's a culture right there. It's a culture that we have built in that situation. So today, I'm going to talk to you guys about culture. And I have a special guest that is going to share about some changes that have happened in the business that he leads. And so the topic is improving your workplace culture, 3 decisions that every leader must make. The reason I wanted to have this guest on is because I've seen big changes. And I've seen him make some changes, and he's actually a dentist. His name is Dr. Stacy Wince. And so I'm going to give him a chance to introduce himself in just a bit. But I will tell you, though, that when you have a healthy culture, I find is people want to be involved in it, and they want to tell their friends about it, and they like being in that environment. Even if they gripe and then they complain and they don't like it all the time, because these boys, they don't always like the questions we ask them, or they don't like the structure and they make it difficult and they got to go use the bathroom and they fight and argue with each other. But ultimately, the fact that they wanted to get together this evening, even though it's not like a regularly scheduled event, that's a testament that it has an impact. We're going to give you some practical tools to apply these decisions. I'm going to let Stacy, as I refer to him, that's his name, so actually share what that decision is, and we're going to go through this content, and it's going to be a great adventure for you. So welcome to the Decide Your Legacy podcast. So I'm your host, Adam Gragg. I'm a coach and a family therapist. Founded Decide Your Legacy over a decade ago, and we help leaders and their teams face the issues that they're not actually facing so they can make progress, find that people avoid things, and that they can make the progress stick. And from my point of view, everybody's a leader because you have influence. So as I said, joining me today is Dr. Stacy Wince, and he is a person who I've seen take a lot of action and make some significant changes, and he's going to get to talk about that today. So, Stacy, will you just introduce yourself first personally and professionally so the audience can get to know you?
Well, personally, I'm Stacy Wince. I am a dentist in McPherson, Kansas, so about an hour north of Wichita. I've been practicing there for 15 years. I've been a dentist for almost 25 years now. Had a lot of ups and downs through my career, so I enjoy what I do. Luckily, I've had a good relationship here with Adam to help me even refine things more, and so certainly highly recommend that for anybody that's looking for good coaching and to help you even make your team stronger.
Okay. And what about personally?
Personally, what do you want to know?
Kids.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anything?
Yeah, I do have kids. I have 3 children. I got a wonderful partner in life, Mandy, and I have 3 children, are 21, 19, and 18 right now. And then we have Mandy has 3 children as well that are, I don't even know their ages, 26, 23, and I think 20. Between the two of us, we have six kids.
Okay, and a grandkid.
And we actually have 2 grandkids now, and one on the way. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Very cool. So, yeah, I've been excited about having Stacy on the podcast for a while, and I've had the privilege of working with him and his team for a year and a half, I believe. Maybe not that long. I think about a year and a half. And so I've gotten to see changes. So what would you say is your personal definition of what a workplace culture is?
I would say it'd be like having a set of beliefs and values, that's pretty much shared within your organization. That, right. And, something that makes people want to go to work at your place and, and where they feel valued and respected.
Okay.
So just having, so it's just everybody sharing those things, a commonality between all of us. Yeah.
And I find that a lot of businesses operate in a way where they're not paying attention to the culture. They don't even necessarily find it to be a high priority, and it doesn't necessarily in their minds reflect impacting the bottom line. It does when an employee leaves, and it does when they can't perform a service because they don't have the team.
Sure.
But what are there's a lot of misconceptions that people have. I mean, that, like I said, they don't value it. They're going to put energy into it. What do you believe are some of the common misconceptions you've had personally about paying attention to this part of your business?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's easy. We run a very, very busy business. It's easy. You kind of get stuck in just the day-to-day. I always say it's almost like having blinders on. You're just all the busyness of work and whatever else. And, yeah, you kind of, then you don't take the time, to learn to build your team and really making sure you're caring for your team. And, but I've certainly learned, that's certainly not the way to run a business. And
okay, how did you learn that? Huh? How did you learn that?
I thought I've always been pretty good at it, but certainly over the last couple of years of working with you, certainly I have taken a different approach to it than what I had in the past, and and it certainly shows. It certainly pays off.
What got you to the point where you felt like you needed some help, and you were,
I did get to a point where I was pretty low in my life, and I sought out help. A lot of it was really personal help probably in the beginning, but then I realized how that spilled over into my professional life.
How did it spill over into your professional life?
Well, I mean, just because, I personally wasn't, really mentally healthy at the time, and certainly, which then, makes you feel like you're just kind of losing control, I guess a little bit. And that's when I sought out help to try to, get myself back in the, in better headspace and in the right place. And, which I knew, which actually has actually helped my business.
Okay.
Because it got my focus back where it should be instead of where it was.
The personal stuff you can't just keep. It's not isolated to just your personal life. It's
not at
as
all.
Running a business, it's going to trickle in.
Not at all.
And so one point of resistance I get from leaders sometimes is that this reflective work where they create a vision for the company and they clarify the values and they get those to stick, or they keep reinforcing those. They evaluate employees based on the values. They evaluate candidates for hire based on values and the vision and everything. Mm-hmm. And even myself, that I have this misconception at times that I don't have to communicate that stuff often, even though I challenge the businesses I work with to do so. So what are the questions leaders you believe should be asking themselves that assess the health of the culture?
They should be asking themselves?
Yeah. So they're getting a checkup, basically.
Right. Well, certainly, I mean, I'm always making sure that people fit into my culture, So, I mean, I guess I'm always asking myself, if I see things in my team, in my group, that certainly is not aligning with our values, and, if people aren't being trustworthy, or people aren't, filling in and fitting into the rest of the group, maybe it may be personalities. Some people, it doesn't mean they're bad people. They just may not fit our group well. And, and I always learn that that can kind of become a cancer in your organization if somebody, doesn't fit that and share those values. So,
and how do you step out of that whirlwind of this busyness in the day and then actually reflect and say, like, how am I doing at casting vision? How am I doing at this stuff?
Well, that kind of goes back to maybe what you and I were talking about. I don't know. Is there something else you're looking for?
No, not at all.
Yeah, but, a lot of what has allowed me to do that is creating better structure within the organization, being able to, delegate things that I was doing to other people. And so that, I'm not trying to micromanage the whole business. And I think then that allows me the time to be able to sit back and reflect more and kind of see things, step back from, just the day-to-day business of our business. And
what are the cultural changes you've seen happen since you've been more intentional to step back?
Well, I think as we're doing that, we've had a lot more people taking ownership in what they do, which then creates, I think, better accountability as people, are taking more ownership and I'm listening to what people in the business want to, more about their opinions on things, learning to ask questions if they help to solve things or they help to, be involved in some of the solutions, then certainly they have a lot more ownership in the business and what's going on. I'm not just telling them what to do.
And I've seen that when I first started working with Stacy and his leadership team. He created this stress reduction plan because you had listened to the team and you had gotten information that they wanted more hope from you, basically, about the future. They wanted more vision from you, and you took the feedback, and then you committed to the plan. I mean, I had to remind you about the plan at times,
right?
Because you told you accountable, which
for sure.
Good coaches do. But you created this plan, and then you were committed to it, and that gave them hope that these changes, I'm listening to my team, and I'm going to make some changes. So what's the very first decision that we've discussed here? If you want to create a better culture, what's a decision that we are discussing that? And I'll go ahead and answer that. So the first decision is to be intentional with it.
Yes.
To be intentional about the whole process of paying attention to your culture. And if you're intentional, it's much more likely to happen. It's like once you're aware of something, if you want, people hate to go and get an annual physical or whatever every 2 years because that brings awareness to something that they necessarily like about their life or their team. But that's the first step of change.
Yeah.
When you become aware.
Well, you have to put importance on it or it's
you put
not
importance on it.
Right, exactly. And yeah.
So how do healthy cultures handle conflict?
Well, certainly, if you have a healthy culture, you're going to have a healthy team, and I think that, and if you have people in your organization that have accountability and have ownership in it, then they're less likely to blame each other for things, they're certainly more apt and more equipped to be able to find solutions and probably find faster resolve of any issues and conflict they may have.
So how do you guys handle conflict now versus in the past?
Well, we certainly, when we have things in the office that need to be addressed, we keep a list. We actually have a whiteboard, so we actually write things down, and we have a leadership committee, and we have, and of course, then we have our entire team. So a lot of these issues, a lot of times, go through a process of going through our leadership, talking it out, and and then certainly then. Probably taking it to our bigger group as we, to try to resolve things.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And you've taken, before when we started, you didn't have a core leadership team that was.
Yeah, we had kind of tried to start putting that together, but certainly, being with Decide Your Legacy has certainly helped us to organize it better and helped the people within the leadership team understand their roles better.
Yeah. Yeah, and so accountability is one of those topics that a lot of leaders don't want to talk about because it's painful. It leads to conflict oftentimes, but don't see conflict as something that's negative. See it as something that is going to help grow the business because people like to be held accountable. It's like they like to be noticed and seen, and I feel that it's often misunderstood. So how do you believe in a healthy culture accountability is necessary? What role does it play?
Well, I think that it plays a big role. I mean, we have to make sure that everybody has to have accountability. We can't be going through our day and not reflecting that to each other. I mean, so we build a culture that everybody is accountable for themselves, and of course each other holds each other accountable for what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because then if somebody isn't pulling their weight, or or they feel that one person is not living up to those things, then it just creates toxicity within your team. So yeah, I mean,
so if your leadership team came to you and said, we want to be better at holding people accountable that we supervise, and they're struggling with it, what advice would you give them?
Boy, that's a great question.
Yeah. Well, it's a good question. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Psychologically, that if we are going to give somebody else advice, it sticks better and we can distance ourselves from it and actually feel more comfortable answering the question. Like if I asked you, hey, how could you hold people accountable better? It's actually a harder question to answer based on ourselves than it is if we're going to give someone else advice. So if you're these are your closest, best coworkers, you really want to help them out, and they're coming to you saying, I really struggle with this, man. I don't like to actually get pushback from people when I tell them that this behavior is concerning to me or whatever.
Right.
What would you tell them to do?
Well, certainly. I mean, I think it always helps if you have somebody actually that's always helping you keep yourself accountable, especially if they recognize the problem. So having somebody to report to, or have them actually help you out, knowing that when maybe you're not being accountable for whatever your duty may be, or whatever it is that you're. Yeah.
So if they told you, I'm really anxious about conflict and I don't want to deal with conflict, because I feel rejected and stuff, then would you tell them to just get over it and do it? Or no, you wouldn't do that. I know that. What would you tell them to do? They're wanting your advice.
They're wanting my advice. Yeah. I always try to fall back on what our values are at the office, and how are they in line with those things, when I'm trying to, keep people accountable to things, does it go against any of those values? Does it go against those, because then I always find it's an easier conversation, if whatever it needs to be addressed is not in line with those things.
Okay.
Because everybody knows what they are, they know what, how they should be handling themselves.
That's a good point.
So then it becomes a much easier conversation, if people aren't, if it doesn't, go in line with what our values and our,
that makes a big difference. It's already there.
Yeah.
You already know it.
Sure.
Yeah. So how do you help people grow? This is a big question with, how do I help somebody grow who's not performing at the level or not aligned with the values? How do you personally help somebody grow without them feeling like they're being punished?
I think that I think just creating, part of the whole culture thing is, I think, creating more of an autonomous environment, that's supportive. I've always been a person that likes to, I like to lead with a carrot and not a stick, type of thing. So, always making sure we're supporting people. And I think that then when I think growth becomes a lot more easier, people always, they're always much more likely to, and also involving them, in the growth, letting them make the decisions of how we, but at least let them be a part of making that decision and helping to create the path for the growth. Because then, people are always more likely to support what they help to create.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right there. These are hard conversations to have. And I have found with me personally that if I can be lighthearted about it, and I feel lighthearted about it, I don't want to get rid of them as an employee. I value them. This is often, it's received much better. It's my attitude as I go into that conversation. And I also find that if I am prepared to have the conversation, so I write it down or I talk it through with somebody else before I have the conversation, not that person, that it helps me to present it in a much
Makes
better
sense.
way right there. So that leads to the second decision here that I have seen Stacy implement with his team, and it's be accountable. And the thing about that is be accountable first to yourself and then to your team. So when you created that stress reduction plan, that was accountability that you were asking them to actually have. Yeah, right. It was a vulnerable thing to give that to somebody. And I've also seen you hold yourself accountable with when you get up and whether or not you're going to have the conversation. It doesn't mean you don't resist.
No,
but
as much as I may not like it.
As much as you may not like it, and all the clients that we have, they commit to some kind of an action after the coaching. Then whether or not they do it or not is up to them, but if they write it down, and that's something I've had clients do for a decade, not every session, but it is a big deal to write it down. And then you're going to be much more apt to actually do it. So hold yourself accountable first, and then hold other people accountable, and remember that that's going to lead you to growth. Strong cultures hold people accountable in ways that develop them. So moving into a kind of a different space here is a question I like to ask every guest, and it is a little personal here, but I'll put Stacy on the spot. So what would you say has been one of the biggest challenges that you've had in your life?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, there's been a number of them. I've lived on this earth for a long time.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Are you talking about just professionally as being a dentist, or be early on?
Any point in your life, just
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, you want to go through my entire history?
No, I want you to pick one.
One
that
okay.
Would you say that I really grew from that? I went through a challenging situation.
Right. Okay. I mean, I think that I mean, me going to college and probably, transitioning, I grew up in a construction family, so I work construction. So, it was my decision to go to college, when I was in my 20s, and, nobody was giving me a full ride. It was something I had to work and kind of pay for and figure out and navigate myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, but I feel like there's a lot of that, and coming from a construction background, I learned to work hard and put my time and my hours in. And
so how did you become a dentist out of a construction background?
Sometimes I ask myself that,
Yeah.
how I found this path. I had interest in healthcare and I liked science and things like that. So it kind of just, fell into place. I knew somebody that worked for a dentist, and when I was looking at being a physician, she said, well, how about dentistry? And, and so I started looking into it, and I just started guiding my path that way. And yeah.
And I think you told me one time you got into dental school without finishing your bachelor's degree.
Actually, I don't have I never did finish my bachelor's degree. I do have an associate's degree actually in dental hygiene. I went through dental hygiene school, just to get out of construction and to help better my chances to get accepted into dental school. But I was working on my bachelor's. I came close, but they had accepted me, and then school started, and I just never went back and finished that part of it.
Could that happen today, where someone gets into dental school without a bachelor's degree?
I don't know that you actually have to. At that time, you didn't have to have a bachelor's degree to get into dental school. Obviously, I did it, but the hardest part is that there's just a lot of kids that are applying, and most of them are going to have bachelor's degree backgrounds. That the competitiveness of getting into dental school and getting accepted, it'd be hard to believe that they would accept a kid who didn't have one over somebody that did have, a bachelor's degree. Yeah.
Yeah. How old were you when you entered dental school?
I was 30.
You were 30.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was one of the old guys in class.
So that's amazing.
Yeah. There was 4 people that were older than me. The next person was only a month older than me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And how did accountability from other people play a role in you getting through dental school?
That was, being in a professional school, that was, it would have been hard, with the type of curriculum you have to do to go through a professional school like, dentistry or probably even medical school. But when you have, 80, 100, people doing the same thing, we kind of hold each other accountable, and we form our groups, we study together, we kind of pull each other along, and yeah.
Okay.
So
Cool.
it helped you learn
Yeah.
team, I guess, being in dental
Yeah.
school, because, I know there's a lot of us that, we may not have survived, if
Yeah.
we didn't have those people there to help us out when we were struggling.
How does that impact going through the challenges you've had? Because that would be tough. I mean, you were the oldest guy in your class, and didn't have maybe, are you the first person to become a medical doctor in your family?
Yeah, I'm the only one who actually is I guess, be a doctor in our family. I have a sister, and she's a nurse practitioner now.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But she's come a long way for a girl who didn't graduate high school, actually.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of drive in your...
I'm actually the only one in my family who's graduated high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. How does all that in pushing through impact your leadership?
Well, I mean, I had to grow up at a young age, so, I'm not sure I was an adult, but, I mean, I made a lot of my own decisions, because there wasn't that support there, I think, as I was growing up. And so, I guess it made me had to grow up and be responsible.
At a young age.
Yeah, at a young age. And so I think that, that made me maybe better equipped, for some of the things that I face today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. You got a lot of learning out of those experiences. And
yeah.
I've been to Stacy's office, and I have actually been to the dentist more in the last month than I ever normally have to go, because I had a crown break, and I've had to go, and I got to get it replaced, and I'm kind of frustrated about it.
Yeah.
But, I went by his office, and this is one reason I thought this is going to be a really great topic, and it was very warm and energizing. And a good, healthy culture, you want to actually be there, and it feels friendly, like I can actually have a conversation with people here. In my dentist office, I'm not going to name names, but it feels very clinical. Like, it's old. I mean, it's looked the same way for 25 years.
There's a lot of offices that way.
I am like, they could make little changes that would make a huge difference in that environment. And the people are friendly. I mean, I like the people, and I like my hygienist, who I've had for a long time. I like the dentist. I feel confident in the service I get there. But what a big difference it would make if they made some tweaks like you've done in your office. And I know you're probably not 100% happy with it and whatever. But I'll tell you, from the mood that it sets in the environment has a big impact on the patients and how they feel about it. So how do you think leaders underestimate the impact of their words and their mood?
Words and mood are very important. I say you always want to make sure that, because if you come in stressed out all the time, and you come in full of anxiety all the time, then that's just going to trickle down to your team, and then you're not going to, and if I walk around and I'm just grouchy all the time, and those words are coming out of my mouth, it's just going to create toxicity, in the team. It's going to bring down morale, which is going to bring down productivity with the office, because people aren't going to like to work there, So it's always much better that, I take care of myself in the morning, and I come in a good mood, that I'm happy, I'm joking around with people, and I'm setting that tone for the day, and if not, then it just
so how do you hope
a toxic culture? Yeah.
How do you hope your behavior consistently? What do you hope your behavior consistently signals to your team?
What it signals to them.
Yeah.
I always want to make sure that they know that I hold a lot of gratitude for what they do. I'm hoping it's always, that I'm being supportive to them, and because I know that's important for me. I know it's important for them, that I recognize those, that, they do come in and they work hard just like I do. It isn't just me, that's there. So yeah, that's the main thing that I want to always convey to my team. And
something you said earlier, that if somebody was anxious about holding somebody accountable, go to the values and see it. Use those to guide your interaction, because misalignment there, you can easily talk about the values, and that can help guide the conversation.
Absolutely.
So how does going to, and for you as a leader, reflecting on the values impact your leadership?
Okay, repeat that again. Let me
Yeah,
see
yeah.
the question.
Like how do values actually get lived out under pressure for you?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I think that, having a strong team with strong values, it creates, a team who can be more calm and collected when you're under pressure, you know? So, for me, that's probably the biggest thing that, that if you've got a strong team that believes in you and they have accountability and they have high values, and they're living our values, then certainly, when you have a busy business like we do, that people will, certainly handle those challenges a lot better and a lot more of a calmer, they aren't just riddled with anxiety and stress that, hey, we're busy today and we're all tired and,
the values get you centered.
Yeah. And I think, we see that all the time, things happen. Right now a lot of people get sick, and sometimes, we've got to pick up the slack, often if somebody's gone. And, luckily we having a strong team, we all pivot. We have to pivot every day.
And how is that connected to your values?
Well,
everybody's pivoting.
Just the fact is that that we care enough about each other, that that we are able to, that we're always willing to jump in and help each other out.
Is that one of the core values, to help out and jump in?
Well, I don't know if we have that, actually as one of ours, but teamwork is definitely one of our core values. Yeah. And and accountability is one of our core values. And but we're a pretty close-knit group, I know I sent you something about family here not too long ago. I always say, we're actually kind of like a big family there, but at the same time, but it's still, it's a family with structure. We actually probably handle our, our issues better than a family does.
And it's a family that fights sometimes.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But if you go into Wince Family Dental, I think you'd find it warm and fun. Yeah. And I feel, comfortable. So I've told you that from the get-go,
right.
That
we hear that a lot. You can go read our Google reviews. You'll actually hear that a lot.
Yeah. How many Google reviews do you guys have?
We're somewhere around 925.
Yeah, that's crazy. I know. Yeah. And it's a small town of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Correct? So you got, that's pretty cool and inspiring. So the third decision to make to improve your culture is to be aware and not assume. Be aware of how you're coming across to other people. Mm-hmm. Be aware of how your mood is impacting the environment. Be aware of the culture that you're creating, of the environment you're creating when patients come in, or whatever you call them, clients come in. Mm-hmm. Be aware of how warm we actually are. And something you did recently that was pretty powerful is you've done some very unique things. Some of them are having trainings for your team, having team building and everything. But what did you do recently at this annual event?
Oh, yeah. I like surprises. I like doing things, that catch people off guard. And so, at our annual meeting this year, we actually came down to Wichita, and we had lunch, and we actually had our meeting there, got out of the office. And, but after we were done, to kind of kick off, 2026, I went and bought them all some new kicks. So we bought them all new shoes to actually wear. And so they had comfortable shoes for the year and stuff. So everybody was really excited about that. So we took them to Shields, and I got to just hang out and watch everybody go through all the shoes. Everybody got to buy what they want. And so it was a really fun team building activity that, they weren't expecting.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And they're going to remember that all year.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
and I love to see them all come in and they're all wearing their new shoes.
that's pretty sweet. Very cool. Yeah. All right. So, how can somebody, what in the kind of parting shot here is, why is it important for a leader to take this topic ultra seriously of stepping back and looking at themselves when it comes to culture?
Well, certainly. I mean, it's really important to always look at yourself, because obviously you've got to set the tone, I guess, for that culture. If you're not living it, then you're not setting a good example for everyone else. And
How does that impact revenue?
It impacts revenue because people, if you aren't living the values, then certainly they won't feel that it's important that they're living the values. And obviously that will bring morale down, bring productivity down, and and certainly will hurt the bottom line.
People don't, if they realize what it costs them by not addressing the cultural issues, they would be much more motivated to make changes.
Yeah,
they really, because people resonate with the revenue. Right there, big deal. So, how can somebody reach you if they want to connect and learn more about your practice or your style or anything that you have shared today?
Name our practice.
Email?
Email. Yeah, I can give my email out.
Yeah.
It's Dr. Wince, and that's spelled WINCE at wincedental.com.
Okay. Reach out. So in review, be intentional, be accountable to yourself first, and then be aware. And hey, I got tickets to go see Dave Chappelle in San Francisco coming up.
Yeah.
I did. Actually, this is really funny. It's a day. You were the one that told me, like, it's a day before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you didn't ask me to go either.
I didn't ask you to go, but my buddy wants to go. Friend wants to go, and so we're going to go down and see Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that to me is, like, going to see him live. I like to see these live things. You've seen a ton of concerts.
I've done a ton of concerts.
Yeah.
Ever since I was a kid.
Yeah, and when you see a performance like that, they're intentionally creating a culture and an environment.
Oh yeah.
On the stage. I mean, they have so much detail that goes into it.
Oh yeah.
And people don't realize
they set the mood and set the tone for the entire auditorium.
No, right. And so performers like Dave Chappelle, people don't realize how much they practice.
Oh yeah.
And how much effort they put into it. So I have a cousin that was a Rockette. And I've never asked her this question, but she was a Rockette for 5 years. Yeah, my first cousin, and I was going to ask her, like, how much time they practice before they actually perform, and I would guess it's 10 times as much practice. And if you're going to create a great culture, you have to be practicing. You have to remember that the little details matter.
Yeah.
And that's what comes out on stage. When you're performing, it's going to come out. It's going to impact everything. So what insight have you gained today? And what action are you going to take? So 80% of transformation in your life, you want to make any changes in your life, it's going to be action. So you can think and whatever. But I'm really proud of Stacy today to do this, because one thing I did is I asked him to do this yesterday. And I put him on the spot.
He did.
And one reason why is so he wouldn't be able to overthink the whole thing. And so he just actually have to jump in. And he consented, which is a brave thing to do. And I know that it was a challenging thing. So I exhibited a little bit of bravery, because nothing's more important to your mental health than actually taking action. And nothing's worse than playing it safe. So he didn't play it safe today, and I didn't play it safe by asking him. And you don't have to play it safe. And I'm going to challenge you to not play it safe by taking one piece of information that you learned today and applying it to your business. And doing something, telling somebody about it, even teaching it to somebody else and saying, I'm going to commit, like Stacy did when he gave this stress reduction plan to his team. Take action, follow me, follow Dr. Wince, and share this podcast with your friends that own businesses. I mean, because culture is such a big deal. I want you to make more money. I want you to have a healthier team. I want you to grow your business and reach your goals. Culture has a huge impact. It creates a healthy business and a smart business as well. So remember, to decide means you're eliminating other options. Your legacy is the impact that your life has on other people. There's no positive change until you decide to change. Decide today, because your legacy depends on it. Make a decision. I'm going to close the way today that I always do. Make it your mission to live the life today that you want to be remembered for 10 years after you're gone. You decide your legacy, nobody else. I appreciate you greatly. And I'm very grateful for you coming on today, Stacy.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you next time.